So welcome everyone, bienvenidos a todo el mundo. And today we're going to begin the second part of our work together this weekend. Hoy empezamos la segunda parte de nuestro trabajo juntos este fin de semana. And that involves entering the doorway of the Bodhisattva. Eso implica entrar en la puerta del Bodhisattva. Okay. So the first question is, what is a bodhisattva? La primera pregunta es, ¿qué es una bodhisattva? And the answer is a very deep one, but I'm going to sum it up in one line. A bodhisattva is a being who is dedicated to the path of awakening for her benefit and for the benefit of all beings. Un bodhisattva es un ser que está dedicado al camino del despertar por su beneficio y el beneficio de todos los seres. Okay. And so yesterday, we were working primarily with ourselves. Ayer hemos trabajado principalmente con nosotros mismos. And as I mentioned in the introductory talk, in most spiritual paths, that's the emphasis. Como he mencionado en la charla introductoria, la mayoría de los caminos espirituales, eso es todo lo que hay. This emphasis on oneself, one's own freedom, one's own enlightenment, one's own happiness and liberation. El énfasis sobre uno mismo, el propio bienestar, felicidad, illumination, etc. But the bodhisattva goes a step further, and she begins to consider that actually the whole purpose of her journey is to awaken for all sentient beings and to be a support and a light for all sentient beings. Bodhisattva empieza a abrir el círculo de su influencia y empieza a considerar que su despertar es para el beneficio de todos los seres del universo, sin excepción. And even though there are some of you here who have already received this teaching, aunque hay algunos de vosotros que han ya recibido esa enseñanza, it's really important to come back to it. Es muy importante de volver a ello. Because whether we intend to or not, our lives tends to be very self-focused. Si lo intentamos o no, si es nuestra intención o no, nuestras vidas tienden a ser preocupados con el yo. And that's not a criticism. It's really normal. It's I think in some ways a reflection of how crazy life is. One is kind of always thinking of one's own sphere. No, eso no es una crítica, es más bien un reflejo de cómo es la vida moderna de hoy, tan demandante que la gente muchas veces no puede salir de lo suyo. But what it is an invitation to go beyond the narrow confines of oneself. El camino del Bodhisattva es una invitación para trascender el mundo pequeño de uno mismo. And the reason why we do this, and this is really important, you guys, the reason why we do this is not to be good boys and good girls. La razón para hacer esto no es para ser buen niños y buen niñas. The reason is because from the standpoint of awakening, it is in our enlightened self-interest to start to live for others. La razón, la verdadera razón, es porque desde el punto de vista de nuestro propio interés iluminado, nos sirve a nosotros de vivir para los demás. And why is that? It's because the essence of the path of awakening is a transcendence of a going beyond the small confines of the separate self. No, la esencia del camino del despertar es de trascender, de ir más allá del confinamiento del pequeño yo. No, eso es el verdadero confinamiento, no en casa. So that's the true confinement. True confinement isn't that we have to stay home because of COVID. True confinement is that we're trapped in this prison of me. No, el verdadero confinamiento es que estamos encarcelados en el pequeño yo. And so when we enter the path of the Bodhisattva, not only are we benefiting others, right, through our intention, but we are also benefiting ourselves, we are benefiting our own awakening. Cuando entramos al camino del Bodhisattva, no estamos solo beneficiando a los demás, sino estamos beneficiando y apoyando a nuestro propio despertar. Okay? So from here on out, you guys, there's no going back. Your entire path, your spiritual path, is a path dedicated to the awakening of all sentient beings. A partir de ahora, no hay vuelta atrás. Vuestro camino es un camino dedicado al despertar de todos seres. So just take that in for a second. Vamos a absorber esto un segundito. So what does that mean? Does that mean that we have to get on some kind of a save the world kind of trip? ¿Eso qué significa? Que tenemos que entrar en un trip de salvar el mundo. No, please, do not do that. Por favor, no hacemos esto. Okay? What it means is that we're beginning to move from a different place from within ourselves in every aspect of our lives. Lo que significa es que empezamos a movernos desde otro lugar dentro de nosotros mismos en cada aspecto de nuestras vidas. And the first way that we do that, and because there are very practical ways that we're going to establish the Bodhisattva path. La primera manera en lo cual lo vamos a hacer, porque hay cosas muy prácticas que vamos a establecer para abrir la puerta del Bodhisattva. The first step is with our intention. El primer paso es con la intención. Intention is powerful. Intención es extremadamente potente. Right? So far, our intention unconsciously is going to be, oh, help me get some peace of mind. Help me get a break from my stress when I meditate. Show me the light, right? Hasta ahora la intención, quizás inconsciente, ha sido, ayúdame a tener un poquito de paz en mi mente, a salir de mi sufrimiento, un poco de felicidad, por favor. Now the intention, every time we sit down to meditate, which is every day, is going to be for the benefit of all beings, may I awaken to my true nature. May all beings awaken to their true nature. That's going to be our intention. Para el beneficio de todos seres, que me despierto a mi propia esencia, que todos seres, sin excepción, se despierten a su propia esencia. And this is called, when we do this in the beginning of our practice, there's a kind of a formality to it. We can, let's all do this together. We put our hands together like this in prayer position. And by the way, this prayer position doesn't mean when we do this to one another, or when I do this to you, or you do this to me, what this means is I recognize, I see the light within you. That's what it means. I see the light within you. And beyond that, I bow to the light within you. Cuando hacemos esto, eso significa, yo reconozco la luz dentro de ti y me inclino a la luz dentro de ti. So it's an act of mutual recognition and mutual seeing. Okay, it's also an act of prayer. Es un acto de reconocimiento y de vernos mutuamente. También es un acto de oración. And so in the beginning of our practice, we put our hands together like this, we close our eyes, and we say on the inside, any version of the following, may all beings awaken to their true nature. Cerramos los ojos y decimos interiormente que todos seres se despierten a su propia esencia. when we just stay with that for a second, it doesn't have to be a long prayer or a long intention. Permanecemos ahí un segundito. No tiene que ser muy largo. And then from there, we lower our hands to our knees and we enter the meditation practice, okay? Very simple way, but absolutely essential from here on out, the beginning of every meditation session that you do this. Es muy simple, pero a partir de ahora, al inicio de cada sesión, es esencial que haces esto. And this act is called a Rousing Bodhichitta. Este acto se llama el despertar del Bodhichita. So a Bodhisattva is a spiritual warrior dedicated to the awakening of all beings. Bodhichitta, this is a Sanskrit word, Bodhichitta, Bodhichitta. Bodhichitta es una palabra sánscrita, and it means awakened heart. Significa corazón despertado. So another reason why it's beneficial to us to enter the doorway of the Bodhisattva and to start to practice as Bodhisattvas is because it does actually awaken our heart. Otra razón por lo cual nos sirve a partir de ahora llevar nuestra práctica en el contexto del Bodhisattva es porque nos despierta el corazón. So it's not possible to awaken to our true nature with the heart center shut. No es posible despertar a nuestra propia esencia con el centro del corazón cerrado. And unfortunately, and to me, this is the biggest tragedy that befalls human beings. Unfortunately, what happens is the more people suffer, the more their heart cools. Desafortunadamente, más que la gente sufre, y para mí eso es lo más trágico, más que su corazón se cierre. And you can feel this, and it's become a kind of a socially acceptable way of being, slightly cool and slightly detached. Eso se ha convertido en una forma socialmente aceptable de ser, un poquito frío y un poquito desapegado, right? And even in spiritual circles, there's talk of detachment, incluso en círculos espirituales, se habla del desapego como un valor espiritual. So detachment is lauded, is praised as this elevated quality. And so what people end up doing is, in order to transcend their pain, right, they close down their heart center, they pull back from the realm of human experience, and they attempt to stay above their suffering. Una de las maneras equivocadas en lo cual la gente intenta gestionar su sufrimiento es, se cierra el corazón, se desconecta de la experiencia humana y se pone encima, se transciende. And so what happens is, in the attempt to be more than human, the practitioner becomes less than human. Lo que sucede es que en el intento de ser más que humano, el practicante se convierte en alguien menos que humano. And you can see this, you can observe this in certain spiritual contexts, in New Age contexts, where detachment is emphasized. Se lo puede observar en contextos espirituales en lo cual el desapego es enfatizado. And what's considered a hindrance in the spiritual path, it's not attachment, it's fixation. And those are two very different things. Lo que se considera un obstáculo en el camino espiritual no es el apego, es la fijación, es la obsesión con algo. And so we can have our hearts can be very closed, and yet our minds can be obsessed with something. Nuestros corazones pueden ser muy cerrados, pero la mente puede ser obsesionada o fijada en algo. And so what the real bodhisattva, one of the qualities of a true bodhisattva is that the heart center is wide open, and you can feel the heart warmth, the heart quality of a bodhisattva. Una de las cualidades de un bodhisattva es que el corazón es extremadamente abierto y se siente este calor, este amor en el corazón de un bodhisattva. It is not really possible to awaken to our true nature or to be of benefit to others if the heart center is shut. No es posible despertarnos a nuestra propia esencia o de servir a los demás si el corazón está cerrado. Okay? So we awaken, we arouse bodhicitta, awakened heart in the beginning of our practice, because we're also establishing open-heartedness as an intention and as a value that we hold. Despertamos el bodhicitta al principio de nuestra práctica porque estamos estableciendo el corazón abierto como un valor y una intención que llevamos. Right?